with that sort of ending. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Masterless Peace Theater. My name is Timothy, and I will be your host tonight. But first, allow me to change my accent a bit. Make an adjustment, if you will. Bonjour, mes amis. Buenos dias, señorita. How y'all doing? That's much better. So tonight, I got a real treat for you. Woo! That's mineral water right there, y'all. Hey, kitty. How you doing? This here is the story of Julius Caesar as told by the down-home players. Now the mighty Caesar hath returned from a quail hunting trip down in South Carolina. And on his arm is Mark Antony, a noble friend of Caesar. And Mark Antony speaks to the mighty Caesar in his fluent Roman Italian voice, and he says, "Hey, Julius." And Julius says, "Huh?" Which is Latin for what? He said, "Julius, what sort of individuals that you want around you, man?" Julius says, "Well, let me have about me them fat, sleek-headed dudes that eat all the time and sleep all the time and don't ever think about nothing." He said, "No time?" He said, "Uh-huh." He said, "Julius, you a mess." He said, "Uh-huh." Well, then about that time, Mark say, "Hark." Nay, hark, spake Mark. Oh, receive the spirit of that word. Durst. D-U-R-S-T. Durst thou not perceive some sort of audible vibration emanating from behind yon potted plant? He said, "Uh-huh. Indubitably I does." And he said, "Well, what do it sound like to you?" He said, "Well, what it sound like to me might sound different to you." He said, "Well, what do it sound like to both of us?" He said, "You generalize it." He said, "What it is." And he said, "Now we're getting somewhere." He say, "It's the soothsayer." And the soothsayer say, "Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ting, ting, walla, bing, bang. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ting, ting, walla, bing, bang. Beware the odds of March." What do he mean by that, Julius? And Julius say, "I doesn't know." He said, "But Julius, you just like Kennedy, you're supposed to know everything." He said, "Well, I does, but I don't know that." He said, "You is too much." He said, "Uh-huh." Well, they walked a little bit farther, then Mark said, "Hey, Julius." And Julius said, "Huh?" He said, "Julius, what sort of individual that you don't want around you, man?" And he said, "Oh, don't let me have nobody by me like Gone Cassius. Boy, he do not eat, now do he sleep." And he nibbles him no-dos and drinks that airwick. He sits in that little house and away from the house and he meditates. Oh, he thinks too much, he about half smart. Then Mark says, "Bye, Julius." And he said, "Adios." And that's Spanish for bye. Well, you see, straight away Cassius is approached by Brutus, the noblest Roman of them all. Usually played in the picture by Marlon Brando, or is it James Rommel, the Desert Mason? I forget. He said, hey Brutus, come here. He said, "All right, what you got on? You mind?" He said, "Uh-huh." He said, "Look," he said, "I want you to do something other to Julius." He said, "How come?" He said, "'Cause I say so." And he said, "Well, I say so." And he said, "So?" Oh, he departed there. He jumped upon his new Schwinn bicycle. He misses the seat. He pedals out through the streets of Rome, Georgia. His sheet flowing in the breeze. And his bicycle clip on his arm so as to keep the sheet out of the sprocket. He rides up the steps of the Senate Hall. In through the swinging doors, he stops. He kicks down the kick-up stand. No. He kicks up the kick-down stand. No. He kicks the bicycle over again, the door jam. There he's seen Julius. Still sounds right. There he's seen Julius in all of his radiant glory, with his chlorophyll around his head, his arm draped over the television set, eating a locust leg, and watching the Helen of Troy story. And so Brutus says, "Hey, Julius." Now, Julius is happy to see Brutus, beloved, because They've been down the gall together, and that's right behind the bladder. And he's ignorant of this premeditated conspiracy to get him hung up by these senatorial dudes. So he said, hey, hey, Brutus. He said, Julius, I brung something other for you. And he said, dude, what hast thou brung, me? He said, nay, thou hast brought thyself. Grab that, friends, and weigh it. He reached to the depths of the pocket of his sheet, and he withdrew and briskly a long, slim, thin switchblade pocket knife. He presses a button and the blade flies out. He picks it up and sticks it back in the handle. You see, he reinserted the blade into the source from whence it emanated when he pressed the release mechanism. Ain't that weird? Well, try not to be obvious about it as he spit each trick. With his here knife, the blade was honed to such fine sharpness that when he breathed upon it, it cut the little microbes in two, and they screamed as they fell on each side. He said, here, Julius, hold this. Cause it hurt him. The mighty Caesar Marley wounded. The ego ebbed out of his crazy little mixed up fuel pump. His massive feet tangled in Brutus's bicycle spokes, clasping a great handful of chitterlings. He says, at two, Brutus? He said, no, man, I ain't at nothing.